Hi, my name is Mark. I'm with votesmartns.ca, and today we are talking with leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, Jamie Baillie.
I'd like to see a province of 1 million people, a growing population, reach 1 million by 2025. To me, politics can sometimes be about not just tearing down the other guy, but actually setting a goal that we can all get behind. And 1 million Nova Scotians is that kind of goal.
How can you be so certain that you can achieve that?
Well, it's a goal. I believe that political leaders should actually challenge us, set a goal that we can all work towards. So nobody can guarantee it. But when we set that kind of goal, then we can look at our economy and look at our social systems, look at our schools, universities, and make decisions about what it would take to change them so we can get there.
And when it comes down to, I guess, hard numbers, I've heard a lot, we've talked to economists in our work, and they're telling us that, this is a real long game, when it comes to job creation and economic growth. And a place the size of Nova Scotia, it can be really hard for governments to have any measurable impact, and a lot of it depends on forces out of our control.
Well, one of the things I learned when I was running the credit union is you figure out what's out of your control: worldwide commodity prices, interest rates, US dollar fluctuations. Someone else will figure that out. But there is a lot that's in our control. In fact, I'd say don't let anyone tell you that it's all out of our control. We have too much government. We have to shrink the administrative side of government down and free up those resources to put them back into our economy where they can create jobs and cause the economy to grow. It won't happen overnight, but 1 million people by 2025, it's a great goal and we should work towards it.
I was down on Hollis Street this week and noticed that there are people on the outside of the legislature doing construction work on the exterior. It makes total sense. It's the oldest legislature in Canada. It's getting a lot of people wondering anyways, if it's that old on the outside. Government hasn't really changed since the 1800s.
That's right.
Are there things we need to do to modernize it?
Yes, there are, absolutely. It's an antiquated system. It's become irrelevant to too many Nova Scotians. I do believe the best way to change politics is to change the people. Put in people with great values, a great sense of duty to their province, and a lot of good things can happen. But one of the things that I felt very strongly about is a bill that I put in the legislature called the Next Generation Act, which requires that we kind of step away from the old ways of government and opposition, of annual budgets and the tax rate goes up by 5 and your costs go down by 2 or whatever, and start reporting and debating on issues that are important for 40 years and not just for the next 12 months. That we actually show to the people of Nova Scotia, particularly our young people, the impact of decisions we're making today for the next 40 years. And we shift the debate from simple things like budgets to multi-generational decisions about our environment, about our debt level, about the quality of our schools and our social programs. Those are the kinds of debates that we should be having. I also believe that the people of Nova Scotia should set the agenda of their legislature more directly. Honestly, a lot of the hours that I've sat in the legislature, we're debating things that I know are not important to Nova Scotians. And I think when they turn on their TV or if they happen to stop in and they see what's going on before the legislature, they think the same thing. That's not what I want them talking about. So we want to make sure Nova Scotians, through petition, can directly set the agenda of the legislature. Enough Nova Scotians, electronically or otherwise, petitioning the legislature to talk about jobs, to talk about schools. That requires us to do that. And that's a way for the people of Nova Scotia to take control of their own legislature, and I think we have the technology to do that today, and we ought to use it.
So I hear you talk a lot. When you say the name of your party, the emphasis tends to fall on the progressive a lot of the time. What does that mean to be a progressive conservative in Nova Scotia right now?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those great Nova Scotia sets of values that is unique to our province that we'll someday share with the country and with the rest of the world. I'm a conservative because I want to pay as you go, balance the budget, stop the growth in debt, focus on the economy, get our taxes down so more jobs can be created. All of those things are conservative. But as we build a new economy and create new jobs and new wealth, I want to make sure that every Nova Scotian gets to come along for the ride, that the rising tide lifts everybody up, that those that are not able to look after themselves get the help that they need, that those that want to spend more time in school and study get the help that they need, that those who just need a little boost in our schools to do well get the help that they need. That's our progressive side.
You just said sounds distinctly different than what I think Stephen Harper would say if we asked him what it means to be a conservative. So are those values different? And I guess, if you're elected premier, 2013 now, 2015, there's going to be a federal election. Stephen Harper comes to Nova Scotia. Are you campaigning by his side?
Oh, look, there are a lot of things around our economy that I agree with that are going on in Ottawa, and there are things that I disagree with. The only bosses I have as the leader of the PC party are the people of Nova Scotia. They're separate parties in Ottawa, and we have our parties here. And honestly, my only interest is in what's the best interest of Nova Scotia. But let me give you another example. We're very, very focused on the economy and jobs and setting targets for population growth, targets for balanced budgets and debt, because we're conservatives, progressive conservatives. But at the same time, I think of our environment, for example, and why wouldn't we apply the same rigor to setting targets for improvements in our environment, in our pristine lakes and harbors, in the quality of the air around us? We should set those targets and hold ourselves to them, and that's what I think makes us progressive conservative here. We want to apply that same rigor to environmental issues as we do to economy issues.
And you're saying that's a distinction that is very similar with the federal government's approach?
Well, they have done some things around emission controls and so on. There are more things that I would like to do here in Nova Scotia, and you know what? It's in our hands to do it. It was a progressive conservative government here that only a few years ago passed the Environmental Goals and Sustainable Prosperity Act, the first of its type in North America, that actually put in law real environmental standards with penalties as alongside of real economy standards with penalties, and I think that's a great example of progressive conservatism.
Looking at your plan, seems to be that you're promising a lot, tax cuts in a lot of areas, and no real indication that this is going to hit services as far as Nova Scotians feel it. How can you do that?
Well, I think we're really only promising one thing, and that is to turn our economy around and create jobs. The rest are details. So yes, I do want to create jobs and grow the economy by doing things like lowering our taxes fairly and equally for everyone, like the HST and the small business tax, which is where most of the jobs are created anyway. And we have detailed line by line how we're going to pay for those tax cuts through the consolidation of all the health boards, consolidation of the school boards, through attrition reducing the size of government by 10%, and then returning that money to taxpayers by lowering their taxes fairly and equally for everybody. And then of course the third pillar is letting the economy grow, which also helps the government pay for programs.
Jamie Baillie, it was good to talk to you.
Mark, it's great to see you.